strange feeling for me to walk around at this place, because normally I drive along here with 150 miles per hour.
Miles an hour sounds pretty fast, but it's only a number. Not even racing fans can imagine just how incredibly fast Formula One cars are. So we've set up a demonstration to show you. We're going to match a Formula One car against two road cars. This 1.6-litre Ford Sierra is amongst the most advanced road cars in volume production. It's a good car with fine road holding and handling, and the top speed is over 100 miles an hour. This is one of the fastest road cars you can buy, a Porsche 928. Top speed over 150 miles an hour, and road holding and handling is as fine as modern automobile technology can make it. James Hunt, world champion in 1976, is going to drive the Sierra, and John Watson, world champion runner-up in 1982, is going to drive the Porsche. To make this a bit more fun, we're going to give the two road cars a start. First, Hunt in the Sierra. Hunt is trying to be neat as he slides the car around the corner, because the neater you are, the quicker you are. We haven't forgotten the other two cars. I think, in fact, it's about time we started John Watson in the Porsche. The Sierra had a 35-second start, but here comes the Porsche, catching it up very well. Niki's finished his coffee, so maybe it's time to see if he can catch the other two. Incidentally, Niki's driving a pre-turbo car, about 250 horsepower down on the latest ones. And remember, we're comparing the cars from a standing start over 1 lap, and that's about 3 miles. You can see how easily the Formula One car beat the two road cars back to the start. Driving a Formula One car at racing speeds imposes tremendous stresses, G-forces, on the drivers. So each driver has a seat actually molded to his body, and he's held in place by a full safety harness. But his head, of course, is unsupported.
The problem in corners is only the neck, because the helmet is heavier than a cap, for example. So when you go through to a corner, your head is always moving outwards. And there are some circuits, like in Brazil, where the corners are banked. The G-force is getting so high nowadays that after, I would say, 30 laps, you can't hold your head straight because your muscles start to ache and they can't cope with the G-force.
Older racing cars were comparatively simple. Modern ones require many people to produce them. Their research, design, development and construction is very labor-intensive. For every man you see here, there are 30 backing him up. These cars are at the forefront of technology, yet when they leave the factory, they still aren't ready to race. Why? After all, your road car leaves its factory ready to use. That's because it's set up for average conditions. If we were to take even a car like this, which handles well, we could still improve it for this circuit. But then it might not handle so well on a bumpier circuit. There's no such thing as an average setting for a Formula One car. They're fine-tuned for each driver and each circuit they race on. The cars must be exactly right. Because in Formula One racing, hundredths of a second count. This is what practice for the race is about. It's not like a golfer practicing his swing or a tennis player working on his serve. Of course, the drivers are trying out their techniques, but most of all, they're finding the best combination of all the adjustments on the car.
So what I need is some more front wing, because it's understeering, especially in the high-speed corners. Or we take some of the rear wing, we're the last hole here. And we need to bleed the brakes because the pedal is quite soft.
They need to adjust their aerodynamic aids, the stiffness of different roll bars, the ride height of the car, different degrees of rebound on the dampers, minute variations of the angles of the wheels. All a giant interrelated jigsaw.
And less rear wing, yeah?
Yeah. Take one hole off the rear wing, please.
And when they talk about how their cars handle, they use two terms all the time, oversteer and understeer. It isn't only Formula One cars that are affected by understeer and oversteer. It affects road cars too. This Ford Cortina is actually a well-balanced car, but this skilled racing driver is going to throw it off balance deliberately. He comes into this corner a little too fast, and watch the back go. That's oversteer. This time, he's unbalancing the front of the car. Again, his approach into the same corner is a little too fast. And although the steering is on full lock, he goes straight on. And that's understeer. Formula One drivers want the car perfectly balanced, equal grip at front and rear. Their skill in setting up the car is in achieving this perfect balance, and it's a subtle business. For example, a car with nearly 50 gallons of fuel in it on the starting grid will feel very different during the course of the race as that fuel is used and the tank empties.
The good driver needs to know exactly what it takes to make the car well balanced all through the race. I mean, it's very easy to get a car which is very good in the beginning of the race because you can practice this in practice. But then when the fuel comes out and the circuit changes and the tire changes, then it doesn't handle in the other half of the race.
The driver. Some parts of them can be surprisingly fragile.
The gearboxes of modern Formula One cars aren't the strongest, especially with all the turbo power available. So very often you do get problems with the gears. That means you can't get fourth gear, for example, very easy. So then it's really hard to change gear. You get blisters on your hands, and you really have to watch it not to destroy it even more. So then you have to be very careful changing in that particular gear, which is weak, to make sure it lasts until the end of the race.
Unlike a road car, the braking balance on a Formula One car, between front and rear, can be adjusted as you drive. It's very important to get this right, as a new driver found trying Niki's car.
If you lock rear wheels up, it's not very comfortable because you will start spinning right away. So you have to adjust your brake balance more towards to the front. And then you just practice starting braking later and later. And finally you will lock up one of your front wheels. Then you will put a little bit more to the back again to make sure you have the right brake balance. And then you are set up optimum for the particular circuit.